Hi everyone, my name is Rosemary and welcome to week 10 of my second week-long weather observations. I am located in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I did my observations starting Monday, March 23rd through Friday, March 27th. My visible observations were taken approximately around 7 p.m., while my temperature and barometric pressures were taken a little bit later, around 10 or 11 p.m. And this was just due to the fact when I actually reset my maxes and my mins, I did that around 11:30, I believe, on Sunday. So I wanted to try to get as close to that 11:30 mark as I could. I took I got my NWS data, which was taken from the Fairbanks International Airport. And one thing to note is my location is approximately up here, whereas the NWS weather station at the Fairbanks International Airport is probably a little bit more around this area. So as a result, on average, the data that I recorded was a little bit warmer just because I'm in a higher elevation. So here's just kind of a visible breakdown of the Excel spreadsheet where I put in all of my information, and now I'll be going over that for all of you. So for my air temperature, first day was Monday, March 23rd. The temperature at the time of observation was 28 degrees. My maximum temperature was 39.8, while my minimum was 16.2. One thing to kind of note here is the minimums for my left and right probes on the first day were pretty far apart, so I slightly adjusted them and moved them a bit, and then they seemed to kind of clear up for the rest of the week. On Monday, I saw close to no clouds. I would say maybe like a tenth of the sky had cloud coverage. The clouds that I did see were cirrus clouds. There was no precipitation. The wind was a 2 on the Beaufort scale. I believe that is the highest that I saw all week. I could feel the wind on my face as well as I could see the trees moving. The wind direction was blowing east of north. Moving on to Tuesday, the temperature at the time of observation was 32.8 degrees. My maximum temperature was 44.6 and my minimum was 14.1. For the cloud covering type, I saw a few more clouds than I did on Monday. Less than 1/4 of the sky had cloud coverage, and the clouds that I saw were cirrus and cirrus cumulus. There was no precipitation. The wind was a 1 on the Beaufort scale. I could barely feel the wind on my face, and I could see the trees moving ever so slightly. The wind was blowing east of north. Moving on to Wednesday, March 25th, the temperature at time of observation was 37.2. My maximum temperature was 47.8, and my minimum was 16.3 degrees. For the cloud coverage and type, there was just a little bit over 1/4 of the sky had some clouds. Mostly I saw cirrus clouds, however there were a few that appeared to be altocumulus as well. There was no precipitation again, and the wind was either a 0 or a 1 on the Beaufort scale. I couldn't feel the wind on my face. However, if I stared at the trees long enough, I could actually see a little bit of movement. Moving on to Thursday, temperature at the time of observation was 41.6 degrees. My maximum temperature was the highest I recorded all week, which was 53, and the minimum was 21.5 degrees. For cloud coverage and type, the cloud coverage was about half of the sky, and the types of clouds appeared to be mostly stratocumulus. Again, there was no precipitation, and for the wind, there appeared to be no wind, so a 0 on the Beaufort scale. I could not feel the wind on my face, and I couldn't see any effect of the wind. Final day of observations is Friday, March 29th. The temperature at the time of my observation was 35.5 degrees. My maximum temperature was 46.5, so it started to dip back down, and my minimum was 34.6, which oddly enough was the highest minimum that I recorded all week. Cloud coverage and type was about 1/4 of the sky, and the types of clouds I saw were stratocumulus and altocumulus. And again, there was no precipitation. For the wind speed and direction, the wind was about a 1 on the Beaufort scale. I could barely feel the effect of the wind on my face, and I could just barely see the trees moving. So for the most part, I would say that my temperature recordings pretty much followed what the NWS data recorded. Kind of, you can see the upward trend and then going back down a little bit. So for the barometric pressure, I was actually a little bit disappointed because the first week that I took my observations, I was right on with what the NWS had recorded. However, this week it appears mine were kind of a little bit off. I did follow the pattern, as you can see, kind of an upward trend, then goes back down, then another upward trend. However, my readings were a little bit more extreme. So I'm wondering if maybe perhaps I need to recalibrate my barometer. I haven't touched it since I set it up several months ago. So before I do the next week of weather observations, I do plan on recalibrating that. All right, so moving on to the weather maps, I'm going to start with Monday, March 23rd. So as you can see, there's a slight cloud coverage, especially over the interior of Alaska, which is shown right here. There are 2 high pressures in Alaska, one at the very top, so north, and then one at the southern part of Alaska. And you can also see a low pressure trough building in the southeast area of Alaska. Moving on to March 24th, Tuesday, you can see that Alaska's cleared up a bit. The cloud coverage that was in the interior has moved further north and into Canada, and it appears that the interior of anyways, another trough is building on the perimeter of Alaska, as you can see right here, and the low pressure system down here is still working its way up into Alaska, and all of the high pressure systems have appeared to move out into Alaska and move into Canada. So moving on to Wednesday, March 25th, the low pressure, as you can see, is still continuing to move into Alaska. There is a stationary front around the interior, as you can see right here. And then there's also an occluded front down here, the purple thing, which appears to be moving its way up into Alaska. Moving on to Thursday, March 26th. The occluded front has actually started to make its way into Alaska now. And as you see, there are a few troughs that appear to be coming off of it, and the low pressure systems also appear to be moving up into Alaska. Final day is Friday, March 27th, and as you can see, the occluded front has started to move back away from Alaska. It's moving towards the south, and as you can see right here, there's another trough that appears to be moving its way through the state. It appears to cut right through the interior of Alaska. You have a couple of low pressure systems here, one way down here, and then there's a high pressure system that appears to be moving up through Canada and into Alaska. So now we're going to take a look at the GEOS images, which were taken on Wednesday, March 25th. So if you look at the infrared image, you can see that there are some darker kind of grayish clouds all throughout Alaska. Then right in the middle, which appears to be about the interior of Alaska, you can see this one little white cloud, and this is a colder cloud compared to some of the darker ones around Alaska, which are warmer. Then if you go down to the visible map, you can see basically the same thing the infrared showed you, some cloud coverage, mainly dark. And then finally, if you look at the water vapor image, this shows that there isn't much for moisture in Alaska. And again, you can see that one little white cloud about in the interior of Alaska. There's little moisture in these clouds. Well, that concludes my second week of weather observations. Thank you for watching, and good luck on the test.